What's up guys? Welcome to AnimeKouhai, an extension of Anime Senpai PH channel. All pieces of information are derived from the light novel. In today's video, we will continue Chapter 1, Volume 8 of the light novel, entitled Reconciliation and Agreement. This video is the 13th part of Chapter 1 in our Tensura spoiler video series. If you haven't watched the previous episodes, feel free to check out the links in the description below. If you want to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Now, let's get to the video. It was the equivalent of a pistol that Rimuru thought about gifting Hinata, and she liked it much more than he anticipated. It was a new version of the broken rapier Rimuru had consumed earlier, analyzed and improved for her. It was in the unique class feature-wise, and he's sure it felt the same way in her hand. Rimuru even recreated the unique ability it had to always kill its target on the 7th attack. They also gave him a broken longsword. The Dragon Buster is what they called it. It was even more feeble than Rimuru thought, and he wasn't really sure you could slay someone like Valdara with it. Rimuru also inquired about her Holy Spirit armor, but Hinata sadly replied that she couldn't show that to Rimuru. It was an original, one-of-a-kind piece made just for Hinata, and Rimuru really wanted to analyze it, but to his surprise, report, it has already been analyzed and assessed from the information gathered during battle, said Raphael. Rimuru was impressed. He wondered if anything did ever get by Raphael, and if he should start calling it Professor. But Raphael was again on silent mode. Rimuru noticed that it was on its bad side again, so he advised himself he'd better just give it his thanks and move on. Rimuru really had no idea though. This was a huge feat. He can't get enough of that guy. According to it, they could take the assessment from some inferior spirit armor, then combine it with Hinata's battle data to recreate Holy Spirit armor. This belonged to the holy element, but you could also tinker with the fundamentals of it to turn it into a demonic piece. Sorry, Hinata. Rimuru guesses this Holy Spirit armor's a national secret, but a quick bit of analyze and assess, and it's his. Rimuru would need to think about who to grant it to though. It seemed kind of difficult to use. Now though, their battle gear would be more polished than ever before. Between this, that, and the other thing, they were now even with each other. It was evening, and with a day's work behind them, Rimuru figured the paladins would hit the trail soon, but he thought he would at least be polite and offer them one more meal. Since it was getting late, Rimuru proposed to Hinata that she and Luminous save their departure for the next day. It was kind of silly. Luminous could go home with spatial motion anytime she liked, and Rimuru was sure Hinata had a warp portal set up somewhere in Lobelius. The same was true of all the paladins, each one an A-grade fighter. Rimuru was sure the journey home was no great effort to them. Rimuru imagined they just refuse and say that their work was done here and be on their way. But to his amazement, Hinata asked if Rimuru would be willing to host them this evening. Luminous agreed and said that she did like that hot spring of his, and the food was simply excellent. She asked him what fun they would have tonight. Rimuru supposes that neither Hinata nor Luminous was in any hurry to go anywhere. The paladins saw this, of course, and now they'd all need quarters for another night too. They were all smiles now, chatting over what could be on the menu tonight. Rimuru wanted to ask if the Crusaders were really a bunch of freeloaders like this all along, but it was too late to whine about it. They expected that much from Rimuru's side, so Rimuru decided to give them the time of their lives. The paladins shouted with joy when Rimuru announced that today's banquet would feature sukiyaki, a big bowl of beef simmered in vegetable broth. Rimuru wasn't sure what this feeling in him was. The paladins and his staff, mortal enemies until the previous day, were now salivating over the hearty meal they'd share shortly. They were happy, no doubt about that. But part of Rimuru wondered if this was really the right thing for them. Rimuru guesses there were no rules about religious figures giving up meat or whatever in this world. It was hard enough to keep yourself fed at times without inventing restrictions for yourself. So they decided to treat them to the cow deer and chidaken they had started to raise, pairing their meat with some fresh-picked veggies. Tossing all that into a pot of boiling broth would be perfect, and Shuna knew exactly how to pull it off. First, she used chidaken bones to make a soup stock, using the meat on them for sashimi purposes.
Then, for the main course, she butchered up some marbled cow deer, making for some downright decadent hot pot. After that, all she had to do was remove the poison from the chidaken eggs and pass them around to everyone. There was no way this wouldn't taste awesome. They also had more fresh cooked rice, the big hit of the previous day's feast. Ignore the black color, of course. Rimuru's beloved white rice would just go to waste on these guys. Hinata was staring longingly at his personal rice bowl last night though, so Rimuru gave her a serving, from one other worlder to another. When it comes to rice, plain white is where it's at, although he's no stranger to assorted seasonings too. Rimuru was also getting some rice in from Blue Moon that he had them test out for him, but it still needed some improvement. It was a wholly different beast from a white rice before him. Hinata asked if Rimuru didn't find this almost selfish in a way. Rimuru wasn't sure what Hinata was complaining about. Her voice was even shaking a little. He wondered if she was jealous. Rimuru told Hinata that if she didn't like it, he would be glad to take it away. Hinata, protecting her bowl with her life, snapped back that she wasn't talking about that. She just meant that being able to so perfectly recreate food from that other world was more exasperating than surprising, in a way. She said she couldn't believe Rimuru had created such a life of luxury for himself in the space of just 2 years. Just casually achieving all these things none of them ever would have hoped to manage. Rimuru told Hinata to praise him all she wanted, and he was here all night. Hinata told him to stop being stupid because she had heard stories about him from Yuki, but she took them all with a grain of salt. Yuki was just relaying the reports he heard from his spies, after all. But Hinata said that she didn't think she would ever believe it if she wasn't seeing it with her own eyes. Rimuru wasn't sure how to respond. He was nowhere near the finish line. Rimuru responded that he was far from done yet. Transport's still super slow, and it took forever to transmit information from one place to the other. With magic though, it was straightforward enough to improve their food and living conditions, more or less. Hinata was shocked at the way Rimuru described recreating all this delicious food. She asked Rimuru if he realized that it made him sound like he was ridiculing all their hard work and sweat up to now. Rimuru managed to set her off again. But really, if he was satisfied with this, then he would never develop things any further. He's a king, pretty much, and a king needs to be at least a little greedy. Not king so much as Demon Lord, but same difference. Rimuru explained that they were pretty good in the forest, food-wise, but the real issue was the culture. There's just way too little entertainment, and he wanted to build a foundation for things like manga, like what Valdora was reading. Hinata asked Rimuru if he realized how harsh this world was, because to Hinata, this is a world where the majority of people have to fight tooth and nail to see another day. Rimuru agreed with Hinata and said that's why they would make sure monsters and things were no longer a threat. Rimuru meant he would just come out and say this, because there's no point hiding it. But they're trying to install Yam as a king, build a new kingdom from his domain, and use that to draw the Western nations into their sphere of influence. Hinata felt interested to know more details, so she asked what exactly Rimuru was planning. He decided to tell her, and he started saying that he was thinking about a lot. Rimuru pecked at the hot pot as he explained his vision of the future to Hinata. Their current project involved getting the human world to recognize them, and this was already halfway done, with the leaders of many nations aware of who he was. Rimuru had received reports of apparent spies going in and out of Tempest, so he had taken a few measures to show them how harmless they were. The merchants and adventurers were spreading rumors of their own, and before long, even the common people would know that the Monster Nation could coexist with them. It would take time for that to really take root, but they were on the path. No need to hurry it along. After that came the road infrastructure. This was also well underway, as they had worked to build safe, efficient trade routes across their territory. Highways to Bloomond and the Dwarven Kingdom were now open, and plans were in progress for a new road linking them to the sorcerous dynasty of Thalion. There were no paved roads to Eurozania at the moment, so Rimuru thought they could tackle that afterward. Running in parallel with all this was experimentation with communication methods. Rimuru didn't know how radios and stuff worked, so he had to give up on that. Raphael could tell him if he asked, but Rimuru didn't have the brain power to help everyone else understand it. Kaijin, and the 3 dwarven brothers might, maybe, but Rimuru didn't want to rely on them for everything. Thus, he decided to leave that issue to the next generation and build schools to provide education for their children. These were simple, one-room affairs for now, but Rimuru was having them learn basic reading, writing, and arithmetic. Before long, he intended to bring in some humans to provide more in-depth instruction. But getting back to the subject, the communication crystals that serve the world now could only be used by the magically inclined. They were magical items themselves, which meant they were vulnerable to theft. That was hardly a theoretical problem, and more to the point, if you needed to send out an emergency message, you'd never know if a wizard was nearby to help. They needed a system that anyone could use and where theft wasn't an issue. It seemed beyond all probability, but it was actually pretty within reach. Rimuru's idea involved the use of sticky steel thread and magisteel. He tried the first out with the Soei, but Rimuru's transmission skills over the thread were honestly pretty astounding. Since it worked with magicules, you could get your voice and thoughts across with remarkable clarity.
That's it for this video, guys. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and click the bell notification icon so you will never miss the upcoming continuation of Tensura spoiler video series. Thank you for always watching my videos and supporting my channel. Shout out to the top 10 commenters on my previous video.
Shout out to Patrick0216, Mazin Zold, Yusef BTR, No, Commander Neo, Abdul Fatawu, Sarang Patankar, Ral the Great, Hamza RD3, Canaria MLBB, Jacob Luna, Darkutaku YT, Diablo, Luffy Lap, Norzki Channel, and last but not the least, shout out to Abhishek Dungdung.
I'll see you guys in the next video.